All right, guys. I know there are plenty of people watching this channel that feel like they can build a team better than Chris Grier. And I've recently been introduced to a more comprehensive version of fantasy football called Ultra GM. And with Ultra GM, you assume the role of general manager for the Dolphins or any other team that you want to manage, and you can build it in your own vision. And you're going to compete in a similar format to fantasy football against your friends or other Dolphins fans, or even compare your roster against the real life Miami Dolphins roster. Ultra GM, it's similar to fantasy football, but it takes it to the next level. You're going to be using the real NFL salary cap. You're going to be using the actual player contracts. And you are going to manage a full 53-man roster plus the practice squad. Because you have that full roster, the scoring in Ultra GM is also going to be enhanced from what you have in regular fantasy football. You're going to get scoring for all positions on the field. So if you're someone who, is more concerned about the offensive line than Chris Grier, here's your chance to fix it. You can join at www.ultragm.com, and it's going to cost $30 for the year, and that comes out to $2.50 per month. And if you use my promo code Smith25, you'll get $5 off of that. Again, if you think that you can build a team better than Chris Grier, this is your chance to prove it with Ultra GM. All right, as you can see from the title of this video, we are going to be talking about the importance of Alec Ingold in the Dolphins offense. I am Eric Smith, contributor on 5 Reasons Sports, also co-host of Scouting the Fins, which is a podcast that can be found on the 5 Reasons YouTube and also the 3 yards per carry feed. There seems to be a lot of talk about different personnel groupings moving forward for the Miami Dolphins. And when we talk about personnel groupings using a 2-digit format, the first digit represents the number of running backs, and the second number represents the number of tight ends on the field. Looking at this personnel groupings chart, you can see that Ingold would typically be part of any personnel groupings that start with number 2, so 21, 20, and 22. Fast 21 would be the exception because the fast would indicate that there are 2 halfbacks instead of a fullback. And the talk has been that Miami may look to move to more 11 or 12 personnel groupings. 11 would mean that you have 1 halfback and then 2 tight ends. Think of 1 inline tight end and a second move type tight end, and then 2 wide receivers. And your 12 personnel would mean that you have 1 halfback, 1 tight end, and 3 wide receivers. Neither of those sets would include a fullback. But I just don't see it that way. I've been a bit bullish on the idea of Miami moving to more inside zone and duo heavy schemes in 2025. And in my opinion, Mike McDaniel will want to keep a similar ratio to what they've had in the past for outside zone, but obviously be better when they do call those other concepts. And that would mean that a fullback will continue to be a significant contributor in this offense, even if it doesn't show up in the box score. Alec Ingold is a self-described problem solver in this offense. He provides value in the run game, not only helping the running backs get to the right hole, which is something we looked at in our Jalen Wright and Devon Achane film reviews, but also if someone is struggling along his path, right? Ingold is responsible to help that player out as well, while still having his own independent accountability for who he needs to eventually get to. All right, let's look at an example of that. So this is going to be outside zone to the left, and we're going to have Alec Ingold working up to number 24. Julian Hill is blocking number 33. And I want you to really focus on what Alec Ingold does on this play. So you can see that off the snap of the ball, Julian Hill trying to work to the outside, getting an okay fit, but not really giving a clear read here. But you can see that Alec Ingold is doing a couple things here. Number one, we're going to see that he is going to help fix this block, being a problem solver, Don't have a clear read here, so he's going to create a clear read. He is also giving Jalen Wright the read to cut this to the inside. Jalen Wright, seeing this leverage, might be thinking get it to the outside, but by following his fullback, we're getting rid of that path. And now Jalen Wright is going to cut that through the middle as well. So as we progress through this play, you can see that Alec Ingold is going to, again, not a clear read here. So Alec Ingold is going to spill number 33 to the outside before he climbs to his assignment. And that's important because, if Alec Ingold's just doing his responsibility on this play and he's just climbing directly to 44, and then 33, falls off the block and makes the tackle right there, then Ingold's block means nothing at all. So, key here for Ingold that doesn't show up in the box score is that he's just doing a little bit extra here to help Julian Hill with his assignment before climbing to 44 and being the main reason that this springs for a big gain. When asked to quantify Alec Ingold's value in the run game, Mike McDaniel gave one of his long-winded answers, but the primary things that I took from this answer were, first, that Mike McDaniel considers his value as more causation than correlation. And when we look at the definition of those, correlation in short means that two variables, so Ingold and the success in the run game, are related. When one changes, the other tends to change too. Basically, it means they just move together. And then causation, on the other hand, means that one variable directly affects the other. So Ingold directly affects the success in the run game. Causation can be simply stated as one makes the other happen. As we continue through Mike McDaniel's transcript, he mentions how Ingold not only executing his block, but his presence in the blocking scheme makes the angles easier for everyone else along the blocking surface. And then at the end, he says, not only is he executing and getting better and better at the point of attack, but simply put, a fullback in the run game for offenses is the ultimate point guard for an offensive line, helping their angles and their leverage and their ability to block talented athletes. What does that mean? Let's take a look at some of the film from the season and try to provide a visual on what exactly Coach is saying here. All right, so as we look at this first play here, this is going to be outside zone to the left. And if Ingold did not come in motion, then the blocking assignments would be Julian Hill and Teron Armstead comboing through 97 up to 57. We'd be asking Rob Jones and Aaron Brewer to combo through this 3 technique up to 44. And then probably Eichenberg on this 2I with Jackson up to number 41. But we are going to get Ingold coming into motion, and he is going to be part of this blocking surface. So when that happens, then suddenly he becomes part of the combo block with Julian Hill, and they are working up to 57. That creates a much better angle for Rob Jones on the 3 technique to now have the help of Teron Armstead from the outside. And that combo is going to work up to 44. And same idea here, that instead of asking Aaron Brewer to work to that 3 technique, now he can work to the backside with Liam Eichenberg on that 2I, and now they are working up to this linebacker. So you can see that, as this play starts, that instead of asking Teron Armstead and Aaron Brewer to get horizontal and work combos that are trying to cut off guys that have leverage on them. Instead, they are able to work more vertical right away because Alec Ingold is coming over top to work with Julian Hill and then combo up to 57. You can see that Teron Armstead, Aaron Brewer, they're able to work more vertical to get to their cutoffs. And you can see the way that helps things open up for Devon Achane. And then one more example here, going to be, very similar concept. And the idea here is that, again, if Ingold does not motion over, then you would have Julian Hill and Kendall Lamb trying to combo up to number 2. And then you'd be asking Isaiah Wynn to get to this more of a 4-eye along with Aaron Brewer, and they'd be working up to Fred Warner. And then it gets harder, working to the backside, that now you're asking Rob Jones to try to get to that zero technique. But again, we are going to get Ingold coming in motion, and that means that he is now part of the combination block with Julian Hill on the defensive end. They are working number two. Now Kendall Lamb no longer has to work that far play side. Instead, he's going to work a combination block with Wynn, creating a much better angle to this linebacker. And now Aaron Brewer can help with this zero technique along with Rob Jones before they're working up to number 6. And like I said, again, you're going to see as this play develops, right? Instead of asking Lamb to get all the way out to the outside, Brewer to get all the way out here, now we're getting, um, you know, Lamb's climbing more vertical. They decided on the backside here on this combo, to change it from a combo with Brewer and Jones to Jones just being able to climb immediately and cut off that backside linebacker. But you can see that those combos can just get more vertical. So just the presence of the fullback, right, working through number 97 to number 2 creates more vertical combination blocks, and it just creates better angles for the offensive lineman and everybody else involved in that blocking surface. All right, now that we're done with all that, I just don't think that you can come into the season talking about earning your way out of too high looks and be planning to do that by phasing out the fullback. So I expect Alec Ingold to have as big of a role in this offense this year as he has in previous years. Leave a comment below. I try to respond to everything that I can. And let's talk about how you see the role of the fullback in this offense as we move forward into 2025. Thanks for watching. We'll talk again soon.